find that the vast majority of the students are actually, they've got a marketable skill at the end of the semester, rather than what we've done historically, which is our students have a marketable skill at the end of maybe a semester or a year of speech competition.
Okay.
So this kind of levels that playing field out quite a bit. I mean, we're not going to turn everybody into, Tony Robbins or, JFK, but to be a competent public speaker in a professional environment, it's not rocket science. It just takes training, coaching, and practice. The three elements normally missing from our basic.
Yeah. And a lot of our students, as you probably already know, they wait last minute. They don't take enough time, and then they try to throw it together and hoping that they're going to have a decent speech, and that just doesn't happen.
No, and this eliminates all of those problems. You ever have students try to plagiarize a speech by any chance?
Oh yeah.
I used to catch a student about every semester.
Yeah.
And this eliminates plagiarism. It eliminates you ever having to hear another speech about how to make a grilled cheese sandwich, why we need to, wear seatbelts, or I guess over in California we don't have to worry about legalizing marijuana anymore. But I can't tell you how many times I heard that speech.
Yeah.
So because I
taught topics.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, I was at Palomar for 17 years. It's interesting.
That's where Suzanne knows you too.
Yeah,
she was in the forensics program over there, or the team.
What was it? What is she married?
Yeah, she did.
What is her maiden name?
It's Shannon.
I hope she shows up on video because I'm trying to. I'm just trying to figure out, did I coach her? Did she? Because I left Palomar in 2000 and I want to say 5 was my last year there. Maybe 2006 was my last year at Palomar.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
She did like special events. She did that sort of speaking, like
so she was like an STE.
Oral interp, that sort of stuff.
Okay. Gosh, now I'm really curious. I don't know where you're at. How long have you been teaching now, David?
18, 19 years.
Yeah, I finished after 33, wow. And I feel like my name bank has kind of filled up. I used to do that thing. I don't know if you've ever tried this, where you sit down with your students and you all go around a circle, and at the end, you're at the end, and you've got to be able to name all of your students.
Yes.
I used to do that all the time, and then I suddenly realized whatever part of my brain holds names is now full.
Yeah.
So I have a really hard time anymore. My wife Sharon is a walking Rolodex. If I ever don't remember, she'll meet you in a grocery store 20 years ago, and then we'll walk up to you and remember your name. So it's a nice.
My wife's very similar. My wife's an attorney, and my daughter is too.
Oh man!
So they have really good memories. I just don't.
Coach debate. So, Betsima, you're a full-time faculty member there as well?
I am, yes.
And what do you? I'm assuming you teach, like everybody at a community college, all of the courses. But what do you specialize in, or what do you primarily teach?
I would say I teach more interpersonal communication classes more than anything.
Okay. And at your college, is it is interpersonal a requirement?
Yeah, depending on the major. So it depends on what they're majoring. It's either public speaking or interpersonal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we have an AAT degree, and they have an option, I think, with that. And we're actually, we're kind of looking at, I've been Possible myself and one other faculty member have been pushing fully online public speaking.
Okay.
And there's another half of the program that they don't want it. They're
right
against it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our survey course, and we're going to add, we're going to use that as our pilot course. Survey, as you know, it looks at different areas of comm. And we're going to have online speaking in that course and that sort of thing. And we're going to measure that and kind of survey that and see how it goes with students.
Okay. the person that's going to be the most brutal on is going to be the faculty member. My experience with online education was I worked 4 times harder on all of my online classes as I ever did in my in-class classroom. And some of that is just the logistics of the pedagogical environment. You know, when you're in a classroom with 30 students and one student raises his or her hand, asks a question, it might be that 7 other students had that same question, did not have the courage to raise their hand, but in answering the question, you answer it for everybody all at once. In online, unless you're doing it this way, where everybody, which, I mean, the beauty of online education is its asynchronicity.
Oh, sure.
Which, again, makes things 20 times harder for the faculty member teaching in that environment. Because now you've got to deal with each student in an asynchronous environment. It's just, when we used to have deans always push really hard for online education, because especially at a private college, it's a moneymaker. I always told them, good, you teach the class, and then come back and tell me, in terms of my load, what is that class worth?
Right.
And I would like to see professors who teach online should be compensated more heavily, I think, than for the same class as a teacher who teaches in the classroom. Everybody always thought it should be the reverse, but that's from people who've never taught in that environment. Have you taught an online class yet, David?
Oh, yeah. I've taught public speaking fully online. I've taught gender communication online. I've been teaching interpersonal comm for many years online. I teach it as a hybrid right now, but I may change that because the Cal State pushed us on that, and they wanted it as a face-to-face piece in that. But now they've reverted back now on that, so we may make that fully online. Gosh, there's been a couple other ones, but yeah, I taught online for a while.
I think for public speaking courses, hybrid works pretty well. But when you get into to complete online, it's going to change the students who will excel in online public speaking would be the same students who would excel in a class in television performance. Because looking at a camera is very different in many regards than looking at a sea of people looking back at you. In fact, I know a lot of people who are very good public speakers who don't do well in the look at the big, piece of flat black glass in front of you and pretend there are people on the other side of it.
Right.
It's a slightly different skill set, but yeah, that'll be different. We've got a guy piloting this program in a hybrid class this summer, 3 classes at a community college, and then he's going to go and take it into the online environment. I think we talked about this on the phone, and it looks like be presenting at NCA on his findings in Baltimore, assuming that our program gets picked up, which I hope to do well. I don't know how much longer you want to wait, David. I don't want to
let's
wait.
Go ahead. Let's go. I don't know where everybody is. I thought we'd have more, but I have one faculty member that she's having a pipe issue. Pipe burst at home, so she's
yikes.
It's an emergency. Yeah, so she's got to take care of that. I just texted another faculty. I haven't heard back from him. And then Suzanne, I knew Suzanne and Mike. Mike's our chair at the San Jacinto campus. They're working on this pathway program. I don't know if you've heard about that or not, but they're doing course mapping right now, and it's a long story of pathway program is, but it's a successful program. A lot of colleges are going with it, and our college has been working at it for probably the past year or so. And we're doing, it's coming in stages. We have an all faculty meeting here next Friday, in which we're going to do some more mapping and things like that to make certain areas that the student can take. And anyway.
Okay.
So
sounds exciting. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I miss about, I miss having communication colleagues. Most of my colleagues in this company are security professionals and programmers.
Oh, sure.
So, all right. Well, let me go ahead and walk you through this. And then,
let's go ahead.
Now, but Seema, you can't see the screen, correct?
No, I can't. But I'm sure Dave will fill me in on whatever I'm missing.
I'm recording this right now too, so that will help.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
good.
That'll help. All right. Well, I will try to be very, very descriptive so that you will be able to see the screen in your mind.
Okay, sounds good.
Here we go. All right. One of the biggest problems that we have right now with the way public speaking has traditionally been taught is that our students simply don't practice. Whenever I've surveyed faculty members and I ask them, what is your biggest pet peeve about your public speaking class? They always tell me, my students don't practice. They say they're going to practice and they don't practice, because we all know that if students practice, they get better. The problem is they don't. You also have problems, as we mentioned before, with plagiarism. You have problems with students selecting speech topics that really no one should have to sit through. So the question then became, for me as a faculty member, when I was teaching at Palomar, was here I've got this syllabus and it tells my students I'm going to teach them how to speak in public. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the class, only a fraction of them would I really call public speakers. Yeah, they can give a couple of speeches, but they're not really public speakers. When I ask faculty members, when we were at NCA recently, when we were at WSCA just a couple of months ago, I polled the faculty members. I said, what percentage of your students can perform at the end of the semester to the following standard? That they can deliver a flawlessly organized presentation. I mean, no errors. All the parts of the speech are where they're supposed to be. They're fully developed. They are able to finish the speech in time. They are able to support all of their major points with source-cited evidence, and they're able to deliver it reasonably well, right? That's always going to be the most subjective standard. Reasonably well, right? We're not magicians. We got 17 weeks. Most of my faculty members say probably 15 to 20% of their students can legitimately perform at that level routinely. So when I told them that in this methodology, we're seeing on average about 70% of students performing at that level, people wanted to know, well, how can you do that? And the answer really is unbelievably simple. Practice. We make our students practice, and we created a methodology to make it happen. And I wish I could tell you that I'm this genius who came up with something completely brand new that nobody's ever done before, but it's not true. What I really did was I found a way to move extemp, which I always believed as a forensics coach was the most valuable thing we taught in forensics, and move it into the public speaking classroom. When I first started doing it, most people didn't want to do it. It was really, really hard. It took a lot of time. So I found a way to take all the pain away from it and keep all the benefits. And so what we developed was this thing called 30-minute prep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the student environment for 30-minute prep. And then I'm going to show you what a student goes through. And then I'm going to show you how this works for you as a faculty member to enable you to grade less and coach more, and enable you to produce unbelievably great assessment documents at the end. Literally, you'll touch a button and your assessment will just pour out of your computer. And it will pour out of your computer in a way that would literally defy any dean anywhere to say that your students did not learn in that class. So let me go ahead and walk you through that. Now, you're going to have to maybe be patient with me here as I go through my
no problem.
I'm trying to find where my share the screen thing is. It kind of disappeared on me. I think it's because I brought this down and it made it really small. So let me see if this helps. Okay, that was not it. Oh, here we go. What are you right now? You are seeing not that you want. I want you to see.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay, let's start here at Safari. Okay, when a student comes into our program, they log in on a screen, and then what they do is over here, you're going to see this is Robert Blade's screen. He's a fake student. We aren't going to violate anybody's educational experience. And they're going to see up here their progress. They'll see how many speeches they've given so far this semester, whether or not they've tested out. I'll explain that in a minute. How many sources have they provided? We're going to change this particular rubric to show just how many sources they had in their last speech. We found this to be the most meaningless of all of our current stats. And then whether or not they've coached, and I'll explain that here in a minute as well. Down below, it welcomes them to the program, and we have a couple of overview videos. One that's an overview of the entire system, and then one that is that teaches them how to plan, prepare, and perform speeches. Now, I am going to test something, if you don't mind, David. I'm going to play the video, and I want you to tell me if it lags too much.
Okay.
since I've never used Zoom before, I wanted to see. They're really nice videos. I'm kind of hoping they work.
30-minute prep is the core online exercise component designed to develop your speaking skills and reinforce your in-class speaking sessions.
I'm going to go ahead and give you links, and you'll be able to go and see all of these as soon as we're finished here today. So student can come in, they can find out how to use 30-minute prep, they can find out about how to plan, prepare, and perform. And then for you as a faculty member, in your dashboard, if you don't want to show these to your students, you don't have to. If you want to do it all yourself, that's fine. You can just toggle them off. The one thing you're going to notice about the environment as we walk through it is this whole thing was created by me. I'm a speech professor for you guys, speech professors, and I want all of you to be able to have as much flexibility in the environment as you want to have. I want you to be able to customize it to the way you teach. I don't want this to be viewed as this big monolithic thing. I'm just going to walk you through how I use it, but I'm telling you, as I told you, David, last time we chatted, I've got as many different ways to use this as I've got faculty members using it. They all come back to me and tell me all the ways that they're changing things. So a student will come up here when they're ready to go, and they will click on current events. And when they click on this, it is going to tell them what current events they should know something about. So right now for this week, but Seema, when you've done this before, I would imagine you've gotten quite an array of public speaking topics from students. So I know you can't see the screen, so I'll read it for you. These are the topics our students are speaking about. This is actually from a couple of weeks ago. European Central Bank and Economic Slowdown, Hoda Muthana and Reentry into the United States, Jesse Smollett Hate Crime Hoax, Vatican Child Sex Abuse Summit, and Venezuela and humanitarian aid. So that's what you'd hear this week. Next week, you'll hear 5 other different topic areas. So the students get these, usually Thursday night by midnight, they're released. Most faculty members release them on Friday. The students can then spend the weekend getting 3 articles minimum on each one of these topics and reading them. We show them how to mark them up, how to get them ready so that they've got the information in their head when the topics come out. Now, I don't know if you saw this or not. This is a brand new feature, which is why I forgot to show it to you. Faculty members can also preview topics. So you can let your students know on Friday what the topic areas are going to be for the coming week. And yet the topics that are live for them to do speeches on over the weekend are still last week's topics. So that way you can kind of keep their study flow moving forward. So in the classroom, what would happen is you're going to hand out topics, and I'll explain how the classroom environment works. But online, the way it works is this. The student has gotten these topics, they've read their articles, they've marked them up, and when they're ready, they click on the start button. When they do, a 2-minute timer comes up. Now, I got to let you know, this is a lot longer than it really takes a student to figure out which topic they want to do. So we'll look over here and we'll say, well, let's find out, does Maduro's accepting aid from Russia negate his report that there is no humanitarian crisis? So we click on that. That question is going to follow them all the way through every page here. Now, a 30-minute timer comes up. It tells the students they've got 30 minutes to prep out their speech, and it'll keep counting down. Now, the student never gets this beautiful next button that just came up, but I don't want to have to sit here and talk to you for 30 minutes before we move to the next screen. So I get a next button. So we click on next, and when we do, we give them what I'm going to call a 2-minute cheat button. In other words, no, it doesn't take any student 2 minutes to gather up their note cards, get their friends or coworkers, roommates or classmates to sit down and listen to their speech. We let them know they can give the speech, by themselves to a wall. And it's really funny. I talk with faculty members who say, wait a minute, this isn't public speaking. They're only speaking to 5 or 6 people. To which I respond, I directed forensics for nearly 20 years. The best public speakers on the planet. Do you want to know how many people they spend most of their time speaking to? Now, some people who've been in forensics a long time know the answer can be 1, right? Because a lot of times a kid goes into a round, there's 1 judge, and that's it. But I say no. They actually give a lot more speeches to no people. Step outside an extent prep room, and what will you see? Guys that are finished prepping, standing and delivering a speech to a wall, okay? So you can develop the skill sets without having an audience in front of you. You can develop organizational structure. You can develop analysis and source-cited referencing. All of those things you can do without an audience. The only thing that really requires the audience is when it comes time to deliver that presentation so that you can learn feedback technique. When people respond to you, you can respond back. So it's not a big deal that they only have that many people. And since I can't make this timer move along, I will talk about two other things. One is we already discussed students cannot plagiarize now. Well, I mean, technically speaking, I guess a student could find a way to get a hold of all 15 different topic questions and then prep out in advance 15 separate speeches, memorize all 15 speeches, and then come in and deliver this great speech to you. But I'm telling you right now, if they did that, they'll be the best public speakers you've ever seen in your life. No kid is going to put that much effort into trying to cheat. So no more plagiarism, and that I think is an awesome thing all by itself. And the last thing is, what about cheating? Can a student start these timers and then go watch an episode of The Walking Dead, right, and then come back and, well, yeah, can they? They can. But I'm going to tell you something that I know and you're going to know that they are not going to know. You see this countdown timer, it started at 7 minutes, but we took it down to start a lot lower. When this thing runs out of time, guess what? The student doesn't know it, but it keeps running. So if in their journal, their speech time gets captured, and they're in week 2, and they just finished speaking about the competitive distinctives of tariff enforcement. Now you see how it's counting up now? And they spoke for 20 minutes in week 2. I'm going to suggest to you that they did not actually deliver that speech. So this is what we find out. And then we click on done. And when we click on done, it takes them here to this journaling environment. So as soon as they're finished, they journal. I can tell people have been clicking on this without filling these out because I've got a lot of different account people who are using this, but they aren't filling out these things. I'll show you one that's done. So this is an in-class coached. This is an out-of-class. So we'll look at this one. So we come down and we can edit. So we have a journal. And in the journal, it tells what date their speech was completed. That is automatically brought in. The question that they spoke on, automatically brought in. Their speech time. Then they get a series of dialogue boxes. The first is, what are the main points of this practice presentation? They've got to list those out. So obviously, if the student was cheating, at the very least, they're going to have to outline a speech and provide you with the source citations for that speech. So they list those in there. Then they identify what they did well, what kinds of things they need to improve before next time, and then I want them to identify 2 skills that they're going to focus on for the next presentation. So this student said they want to make sure they have transitions. And, you know, if I would have had my transitions and was giving my speech in class, I might have tested out today. My group says I'm nearly ready. And then also make better eye contact. I think that'll happen if I get off my note cards more. Those are the 2 things that Robert is going to be working on for his next speech. Then he's going to click on update or save, and that will put it in his journal environment. Now you'll notice over here on the right-hand side are what I guess I would refer to as a cheat bar. It tells them the kinds of things they should be learning to do. So it helps them as they are identifying what they're doing well or what they need to do to improve, to use the appropriate language for it. And it helps to embed it a little bit more. So we have material for intros, or for organizational structure, intro, body, and conclusion, and the subpoints inside of each. Ideas about effective delivery and ideas about effective analysis. And then they can use that as a way to fill out their journals. When they are in a in-class environment, it's just a little bit different. I'll find it in class for regular speech here. There we go. When they're taken to when they do the speech in class, they have to put in their own time in minutes and seconds. They've got to write in verbatim the question that they answered, and then all the rest of them are the same. The reason I wanted to come here, though, is let's say, for example, in class today, the student tested out. So in class, students are going to perform for the faculty member when their group thinks they're ready. Usually I start testing students out at about maybe the beginning of week 3 of speeches. So if the student tests out, in other words, they have, in my class, that means flawless organizational structure. I mean, there can't be a single solitary error. They've got to deliver it reasonably well. They have to have a minimum number of source citations, and they've got to finish within the 6 to 7 minute time frame. If they do that, I tell them, congratulations, you tested out. I'll give them a grade. By the way, that grade for me in my class, if they did all of that, that's an 85. Now, I've talked with a lot of faculty members for whom that's a 92, a 95. You use whatever is your own rubric. But for me, that's an 85. If you want to get a 95, you better have more source citations. You better have deeper analysis. You know, we can work on that. But once a student tests out, then I don't make them speak in class every class session. I make them speak in class every other class session so that they can maintain their skill set and improve. Every other class session, I have them coach somebody else. So their journal entry for this day, they would click over and say, I coached today. Now you'll notice the dialog boxes change. They identify what student or students they coached today, what elements of their preparation or presentation did you help that student with, and then how would you describe the coaching session for the person you helped and for yourself. David, you know, if you've ever done, or you're a forensics coach, students don't ever really learn until they know how to coach. Once they can coach somebody else through a presentation, that cements all of their learning. I can't tell you how many faculty members I've talked to who said, I didn't really even master my own subject matter until I began teaching it. So there's something about teaching. So we want to encourage students to teach. Then at the end of the semester, the student is going to craft a final student progress narrative. And it looks like this. So this is it's a bunch of questions which basically mirror the old NCA standards for what constitutes the core competencies of a basic speech course. So it's things like, how did you narrow your topic? How did you grow in your ability to use source citations? How did you describe your ability to incorporate all your organizational elements? We talk about what effects have you seen in your vocabulary or your style of speaking? We all know that when students read more, their vocabulary improves. Do you know Helen Acosta over at Bakersfield?
Who's that now?
Helen Acosta?
Yes.
Yeah. So when Helen used this last semester, and one of her students walked up to her and she said, you know, Professor Acosta, I didn't even know what tariffs were. And now I know. They're important. And Helen texted me, she said, you know, mission accomplished, or my work here is done, or something like that. And then they'll talk about how they worked on developing their vocal variety, what elements of their physical delivery, how did they improve that? And then my favorite two are these last two. How would you generally describe your growth as a speaker this semester? How would you describe the most important part of this class for you? Now, I'm going to be honest. A lot of your students are going to write in this what they want, what they think you're going to want to hear.
Uh-huh.
But often enough, you're going to get students who are going to write things that are going to blow your mind. One of my students wrote in their journal, I don't really care about my grade in this class. What I will tell you is this. This class reignited my relationship with my dad. And then he wrote this 2 or 3 page story about how he was a gamer and his dad was a news junkie. And then they started this class and he realized he had to know things. And so he said, we used to sit down together every day at breakfast. I would tell my dad what my topic areas were, and we would all talk about all the news of the day and the current events. And he said, and by the end of the semester, you know, me and my dad actually liked each other again. So that's my favorite story. Do you know CLS Ferguson over at Mount SAC?
I don't know.
Okay. In her class, she had a reentry student who was on a board of her homeowners association. And I guess every year they would collect turkeys for people for Thanksgiving. And it fell to her that year to make the pitch to get the turkeys. So she walks in day after in the class, walks up to Professor Ferguson and says, with tears in her eyes, right? She goes, I never ever thought I was going to be able to do this. I got up and I made the pitch and we got all the turkeys, you know, and it's moments like that. These are the kinds of journals that you print out and put in that file for when you're thinking maybe it'd be a good idea to go corporate, right? So, but the beautiful thing about this is what you're going to be able to see, what this is going to do for you as a faculty member. The last part of the student area that you need to see is their contact. If they ever have any questions about the app, they will contact us. Now, if a student writes in here and we get it and it says, you know, Professor Moss has been really mean to me, no, I'm going to pass that one on to you. But if they've got a question about how the app works or anything else, we try to provide a good level of support. So anyway, this is what the student online version of this class looks like. So for every speech they give in class, we recommend that they give one speech outside of class, and this is the app that enables them to do that. They can do it by themselves. They can do it to a computer screen like we're talking right now. But I still think it's best if they can actually get 3 or 4 people to sit down in front of them. You know, it can be a boyfriend, girlfriend. It can be, you know, family members, coworkers. In my class, what normally happened was right after class, my students would go and sit out on the lawn. This is all a responsive website, so they would do it on their smartphones, and they would all just run another round of speeches right there just to get it over with. So that's how that works. Okay, so that's the student side. Let me take you over to the faculty side. Do you have any questions about this part so far?
I like the journaling because I do use journaling for interpersonal, and it's a great means of self-reflection for the student and validation and learning the concept. So I totally agree with journaling. I think that's a great tool to use.
Okay, well, you're going to like to see how this is going to work for you as a faculty member, so I'll show you that right now. As a faculty member, what happens is you come into the 30minuteprep.com/faculty environment, and then you can sign up and I'm going to give you a code. You're going to be able to get in today if you want, and look around in this part of the environment. When you come into the app, this is what you're going to see: your course review, or I'm sorry, you're going to go into your dashboard. In your dashboard, you are going to be able to set up your classes. So the way you would normally do that is course setup, and you click on this pencil, and then you can lay in your course number, days of the week it meets, time, start date, and end date. And then at the end of every semester, we ask for you to archive them. We will hold all of your data for, I can't remember if we're up to 3 years now, but I know we're at least 2 years. I've never had anybody need to go back any farther than 2 years.
That's probably good enough.
Yeah, and even if it did, you can always download all this yourself and maintain it on your own computer.
Yeah.
So we don't hold anything longer than that. There's getting to be a lot of legalities involved with how long companies hold information. So we're trying really hard to adhere to the UK or to the EU standards. So normally though, it'll take you into your dashboard. So here's your class. So I'm going to go ahead. I know I'm going to be meeting with my 8 o'clock students on Tuesday. So I click on my course review, and I can see I've only got 1 week active right now. But for the week of March 4th through March 10th, I can at a glance see what my students have been up to. So every red mark shows me that they practiced outside of class. Every blue mark tells me that they've finished a journal for a speech that they've done in class. And then every one of these, I don't know, I guess I would call that a green mark. If they coached, that'd be there. So I can look at this right now and go, okay, Robert met his number of speeches for last week. Oh, but gosh, I've got Bill John in my class, and he only did 1 practice, and he missed both of my in-class speeches. I'm going to probably want to talk to him. So at a glance, I can see how everybody is doing. Now, let's say that today, so the way that this would normally work in class is that you would walk into class, and I'm going to send you a booklet. It'll have some of this information on it. You walk into class, and then you immediately divide your students up into groups. What is the average size of your class right now, David?
Well, our public speaking, we try to keep to 25 for the cap, but that's probably going to increase to 30 again.
Oh, man. Yeah, they add us up to 32 at Palomar, and it's rugged.
Yeah.
We've got this set up for 30 students. If you have more than 30, then you'll have to kind of do a double printout of topics. But for 30 students, you walk them in, and then I tell them, okay, everybody's going to get into groups. If it's 30 students, we got 6 groups of 5 students. And what I do is I spread them around the room. I put them in corners, and then one of them against the longest wall. Everybody puts seats against the wall. The speakers stand in the middle of the classroom and speak toward their group, okay? This is something you've seen done a blue million times, but now you're going to do it in the classroom. Mm-hmm. You walk into class, and you actually have copies of topics. I'm going to show you how you're going to get those in a second. They'll all be in little packets, just like it would be in an extent draw. You'll hand out, a packet to each one of the groups. The first person will tear off the top one and hand it to their buddy who will tear off the next one. You're going to start a stopwatch. They're going to do 30 minutes of preparation. You're going to call it, and then every one of the students, speaker number 1, is going to stand up and deliver toward the walls. The students will learn how to moderate their volume levels so that people can hear, but they don't get in the way of each other. But I got to tell you, that little bit of noise, of interference in the classroom really helps to focus students' brains as they speak. When the speech round is over, every single student is going to comment on at least 2 things the speaker did well and 2 things they thought the speaker could do to improve. The speaker then will take those notes and fill out their in-class journal. So that's what a day of class looks like. But you're a faculty member. You're going to come in, and today you're going to be doing some test outs, or maybe it's really early. So you're not testing anybody out. You're just coming in. Now, an amazing thing happens. When you walk into that classroom, right now, when somebody's going to speak in front of you, what they think about is that you are there to judge them, right? And so as a result, communication anxiety can be kind of high. Right. Because they realize, right, you got the critique sheet and you're going to give them a grade at the end of it. But what if you weren't? What if you were coming in today and all you were going to do today is you were going to coach that student? Well, now the anxiety level is going to be substantially less because they realize this isn't going to affect their grade. In fact, you're going to help them now to get a better grade on a later speech. So that gets great. So you know you're going to come into a group. And by the way, how do I group these students? Again, this is just me, but it's what I would recommend. I tell my faculty members, front load your class with lectures. First 8 weeks, lectures. End of the first 8 weeks, give your objective exam. Give your final exam right then. When you're done, grade them. And then me personally, I take my top 5 students and I put them all in a group. My next 5 students go in the next group. My middle 5 students go in the next group, all the way down to my worst 5 students go into another group. Some people say, why don't you snake your best students through the other groups? It never works. Your top 5 students in one group, and then you're going to discover an amazing thing's going to happen. At about the end of week 3, half or more of, now you can't call them this, but we'll call them what they are. Your A group, half or more of them are going to test out. Congratulations, you just picked up 3 new coaches. The next day of class, they don't have to speak in class. You're going to take all those 3 and you're going to hand them out to groups B, C, and D. And then you're going to move some of the other students around. And the next time you have a test out, maybe 2 more of them are going to test out. And soon, usually by about the 4th or 5th week of speeches, you start to have about as many coaches as you have students who haven't tested out yet. And so this is, in digital parlance, you are literally creating a viral environment in your class. As coaches proliferate, those students get a lot more hands-on. Most of the students struggle with organizational structure. So during the prep time, that coach can help that student organize. After a while, you're going to see more and more of your students performing at a higher and a higher level. So let's say today it's week 2 of class, and you've got Robert Blade in your group today. So you're going to open this up, and you're going to click on this I next to Robert Blade. And when you do, you're going to see all of his journals. So you're going to look up here and you're going to go, okay, I'm going to be watching Robert today. What kinds of things is Robert trying to work on? Okay, so here, his last speech, he says that he's got to work on his transitions and he's got to make better eye contact. Well, what about the one right before that one? Okay, still got to work on. So transitions obviously a big deal for the student, and he needs this. So you figure out what is it that Robert needs. Now, how is that going to help you as the person sitting there as a coach today? You're not only going to be able to tell Robert what you see, but you're going to be keyed into what Robert is aware of that he needs. Now let's say he gets to his transition and blows through it. You know he's not testing out today because he doesn't have flawless organizational structure, so you stop Robert. Say, hey, Robert, tell you what, you missed that transition. Let's roll you back. When you do this transition, I want you to model it after this. Now that we're done with X, let's take a look at Y. Can you try that? Then Robert repeats that back, putting the stuff in there. You do that 1 or 2 times, Robert will never have another problem with his transitions. Something you can never do in a graded speech class, but you can always do in here. And it's the thing you do as a forensics coach all the time. So this review helps me to see how my class is doing. By the way, I can also click on this eye, and I can see all of my students. There's Robert, there's Julie, there's Bill, and I can see all of their speeches of the last week, and I can do a quick at-a-glance review. I don't have to do this at my computer in my office. It's all responsive. You can do it on your phone. So this is the review mechanism. And then finally, at the end of class, you see this yellow button up here. You click on Final Student Progress Narratives, and it's going to download every single one of your students' progress narratives. You can also come up here if you can either do it one at a time. People like to do these differently. I can come up here for Robert, and I can download Robert's student journal. Or if I wanted to do it week by week, I can click on this week's, and at the end of it, I can download all this week's students' journals. I can compile these into a binder, or I can make a large PDF document. And now what can I show my dean? Okay, take a look here, Dean. Robert, when he first started this thing, he was speaking for 15 seconds. Look here at week 2, he's speaking for 1.5 minutes. At week 4 of speeches, Robert is speaking 4.5 minutes. And then here toward the end, he's consistently speaking between 6 and 7 minutes. Look at his growth in his source citation. Look at his, so there's both qualitative and quantitative data there that show learning. Plus, there'll be your reviews, right? Your critiques of that student, and then there'll be all of this data. We're going to try. I don't know if we'll have this available by the fall, but we're going to try to create a whole class graphs and data charts so that you could be able to print out and show on average our student first week, and then you'll watch those graphs go up as the students continue to improve. Then in the class for the faculty members, these are those student videos. You can actually watch them, and I don't know if we'll have it ready by summer, but by the fall, you'll be able to toggle these off and on, depending if you want them or not. And then we provide you with 30-minute prep syllabus language, which comes not as a PDF, but as a Word document. So you can cut, paste, and edit it any way you want to. Same thing about creating and maintaining files, journaling and final narratives, how to do them, speeches, testing out and coaching, how to do that. We provided this because we know how much faculty members love to go in and rewrite their course syllabi. So this is just a cut and paste solution to that to make it work. And then finally, if you want one, we can provide you with a speech evaluation form that looks like this. Can you see this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And this is something that looks familiar to you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't use a scalar model because I like the idea of open comments. It's less threatening. And then the students can print these out as well and have them available. Okay, so the last part of the puzzle here for most of my faculty members is, okay, this all sounds great, but frankly, I really don't want to write topics for all of my students over and over and over again every day. So there we go. I got to be able to move this out of the way. So what we do is over here in the topics area, this is where the magic occurs. And this will be fun. Since you said you got good audio here, I'm just going to run this for you. This will show you how this whole area works.
Welcome to the 30-minute prep tutorial on topics. In this tutorial, we'll explore the topic areas and then walk you through your options to view, edit, download, and activate topic areas and topic questions. Clicking on topics in the top navigation bar will take you to the course topics area. You'll notice in this example that there are 2 sets of current event course topics. The set on the bottom is the set that is currently active in the system. The set on the top has been released for instructors to examine, edit, download, and activate, but right now these top topic areas and topic questions are inactive. New topic areas and questions appear for your consideration in the topics area every Thursday by midnight. Clicking on View will allow you to see all of the topic questions associated with each topic area. This is a good way to quickly review the topic questions to see if you'd like to edit any of the topic areas or topic questions. When you're done reviewing, use the back button to return to the course topics page. If you want to edit the topic areas or the topic questions, click on Edit. Every individual topic area and any of its associated questions are available to be edited as you like. Or, if you want your students to consider one or more entirely different topic areas or questions, you can replace any or all of them. Just click inside the text box and edit or replace the contents. With 30-minute prep, we provide you with new topics every week. You have complete topic autonomy. If you like all of the topic areas and questions provided, just click on the back button. If you made any changes in either the topic areas or the questions, click the Save button at the bottom of the page, and it will save your changes and take you back to the course topics page. A great feature of 30-minute prep is how easy we make preparation for in-class speeches. Simply click on the Download In-Class Topics button, and the topic questions will be delivered to your desktop. You will notice that each page, 1 through 5, represents a single speaking position. Each speaking position draws topic questions from 3 of the 5 topic areas. Just print out the pages, stack them up, place staples next to the speaker position areas, and then make 5 cuts between the staples. In minutes, you have speaking topics ready to hand out to up to 30 students in up to 6 groups. If you have more than 30 students in class, simply make an additional set of topics. Once you have the topic areas and topic questions you want in place, click on the Activate button. Clicking to activate will send an email from 30-Minute Prep out to all of your enrolled students, letting them know that new topic areas are live on the site. It'll also automatically deactivate the previous set of topic areas and questions. Some instructors release new topic areas each week. Other instructors release new topic areas every 2 weeks. It's entirely up to you. But since there are 5 topic areas and 3 questions per topic, there will always be plenty of topic questions to ensure that students don't have to answer the exact same question more than once during any particular round of speeches. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch through the contact form.
So that's how the topics work. And we try to release new topics every week at every week on Thursdays at midnight. And like I said, now we have the student preview feature. So students can actually get, let's say, for example, this March 22 release was the current, these are the current ones everybody was working with. But I want my students to be able to see what's coming up. I can click on student preview and it'll tell them for next week, it's going to be these topic areas. And I can do that without deactivating these questions. And this allows them 2 or 3 extra days to get practice, get their practice speeches in, before the next round begins.
Can you, Mark, bring in a topic that's not on the list here, or just stick with these?
Oh, yeah, you can. Well, if I were to come over here right now and click on edit, I can decide right now I don't want to use the Jussie Smollett case. So let's say, for example, there's something going on right in your own backyard. Maybe there's well, you guys are out of the drought now, right?
Yes.
The drought is over. Okay. But let's say, for example, as is likely, 2 months from now, the drought's back on. And it becomes an important thing to the people in your neighborhood. Or maybe there is some kind of political event or social event that's happening right there. For example, CLS Ferguson, I told you that she taught this class for deaf students. So once every couple of weeks, she would replace one of the topic areas with a deaf student or with a topic that dealt with deaf culture. And then students could respond that way. So you have literally complete and utter topic autonomy. You can do anything at all to these questions that you want. The vast majority of our faculty members use these things as they come out of the pipe. But I do have a number of, I probably have 3 or 4 faculty members who routinely replace one section at least with some other things. Or maybe, there's a take on one of these topic areas you don't see reflected in one of these questions, and
right.
You'd rather see your students talk about that. Just go in and fix it. When you save these, you are not affecting anybody but yourself. It just downloads it to a table that is specific to you as that faculty member. So this degree of topic autonomy applies to every single faculty member on your campus that uses this. So you might find your class might have a little bit different topics than one of your colleagues' classes because they decided to edit in a different way.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the whole program right now, and we're going to try to maintain the cost on this, is $18 a semester per student. And right now they come in through our own webpage. Now, if you are like many of the other community colleges we're working with, you have a lot of students on financial aid. Is that correct?
Yeah, roughly. We have a fair amount.
Okay. Students don't have to have a credit card to get into the program because we can make available through your bookstore. We have scratch cards. And so they can take that scratch card and use their financial aid at your bookstore to purchase that scratch card. And all they have to do is scratch off the code. And when they enter into the program, it says, are you paying with a credit card or are you paying with a scratch card? They click on the scratch card, and then all they have to do is put their code in, and then that will activate their account for the semester.
Okay. Is this something that you're going to be able to interface with Canvas or Blackboard in the future, or is it?
We are actively working on that as we speak. I just had that conversation I was at the airport yesterday, and I called Mark Filer up, who's our programmer, and we're going to be bringing in some because it's not just Canvas. We got to do Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, and there's one other thing called Desire to Learn.
Oh yeah.
And so we're gonna be integrating with all the platforms. Now, where you could help me out, if you don't mind, is can you tell me right now what I'm thinking is we need to have integration in terms of the journaling, because there may be faculty members, well, there should be faculty members who are going to put a point value on those journals. Mm-hmm. And I would assume you would also, well, I haven't told you about this part yet. Well, two things. Number one, I told you about the impromptu, right? I just got the note from Mark yesterday. It's ready to go. So there'll be an area in your, in the faculty area here, instead of having it say a release for 30-minute prep, there'll be another button over here that will allow you to have your students do impromptu instead.
Okay.
So we'll have impromptu available as well.
Okay.
We are going to be releasing a textbook in support of this program. It should be ready by the fall. You do not have to adopt the textbook to use. I mean, we've been using this now for 2 years, and people have been using Lucas and the Condit. I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
But if people choose to use the textbook, we're going to integrate the textbook through Canvas for all of the for the quizzes and the exams. You'll be able to create your own quizzes and exams inside based on our test bank, and then it'll automatically grade for you and give the point values that you've assigned. Beyond that, beyond quizzes and tests and journals, what other kind of integration would you like to see?
I'm going to be using. I actually have a meeting coming up with McGraw-Hill using Lucas Connect. So I'm curious to see if that could be integrated that way, because anyway, yeah, Rep gave me a pretty good deal with getting a ebook and plus using Connect as well for students. So
okay, now the Lucas Connect, is that integrated with Canvas, or is it something separate on their own webpage?
It's separate. I believe that it does. Oh, actually, you know what? It does interface with Canvas.
Okay. Yeah, we just need to get a hold of it. Somebody who understands the API well. I told my programmer I don't want him to have to reinvent the wheel. Let's just find somebody who knows how to do it, and let's work it in. But when you use that through Canvas, are you using it for anything beyond recording of grades, recording of quizzes, tests? I don't know if they do journaling at Lucas. Probably
I don't think they do. I don't think journaling.
But beyond that, is there any other feature that is available in Canvas? I mean, I would assume that it's a single login issue as well, correct?
Yeah.
So it's used as a portal to the other?
Right.
Okay. So basically, journals, quizzes, tests, and portal. And I will let you know that when we release this book, it's going to be released as an ebook on 4 separate platforms, depending on what students want to use.
Okay.
And then you and I both know you're going to have some students who do not have devices. So we are going to offer a print book as well. We are trying very hard. We're going to try to hold the line. It'll be the book and the program for $43. I don't know what Lucas is running these days.
I actually got my rep just gave me a price of $60 for a bundle for the digital book and Connect. If they want the physical book, it's an additional $25.
See, for us, it's going to be an additional $10. So it will be lower to begin with. It'll be $43 for the whole program. And if they want a physical book, we're going to add $10. Basically, we're going to eat most of it. We'll probably eat most of the cost of the physical book because so few students are going to want them. I don't want to, stack a massive, library of disposable books. So we'll probably eat a lot of those books. The other thing that I think it would be helpful for you to know is that the textbook is being written by speech professors. I don't know. Did you know Todd Lewis?
Yeah, I know of him. I've never really talked to him before.
Yeah, he's going to be writing some of it. I've got Tom Carmody writing some of it. C.L.S. Ferguson, I'm going to be writing some of it. And you ever written for publication with a textbook company?
I'm working on one right now for argumentation.
Oh, great. Who are you doing it with?
It's a small publisher. Now my mind just went blank. It's a smaller publisher, and I'm doing a workbook, argumentation and debate workbook for students. Is
this off of a book that they already have, or is this a book you're writing?
No, my own.
Okay. Are you under contract with them?
Pardon me?
Are you under contract with them right now to produce this book?
I am, but then what I've heard from reps is that contracts, that doesn't always mean that you can't jump and go somewhere else.
Okay, well, I'll put a bug in your ear.
Okay.
We have a number of faculty members have asked us if we're going to do something like this for debate. And the answer is yes, because when I taught debate class, I taught it exactly this way. I didn't sit down and have my students give 2 debates. My students debated probably 16 times in class. Now, you can't get them to debate outside of class because you need people to debate.
Right.
16 times in class. The problem is right now, to put the time and effort into making that happen would be disproportionate to the value of it as things stand right now. So right now what we're working on is getting into as many colleges and universities as we can with this program. And I believe that once people see the benefit of this, getting them to then shift over to debate will be very high. I'll just let you know that when we do that, we will be looking for a book for this. And I don't know what they're paying you, but I will just about guarantee you that we will do better. So I won't tell you what we would pay you, but I'll tell you what I'm paying my authors right now. We're going to pay them $5,000 per chapter.
Oh.
And I'll tell you how we're able to do that. It's because we're not going to take any of the money up front. If you ever look at the way contracts are written for most publishers, you get your money after what they call recoupment. Once they've recouped all of their expenses, then you get a portion of what's left over.
Mm-hmm.
I've been down that road. I wrote a book for Kendall Hunt, and it took forever to get paid anything. So the agreement we have with our authors is the first nickel that comes in from any book purchase anywhere, it goes into a pot, and as soon as there is a threshold met, in other words, I'm not going to send you a check for $25.
Right.
But as soon as we hit our threshold, the money will simply pile up in there, and no one will touch it, and nobody will get it. And when we would disperse it, we will disperse it in equal amounts to all of the authors, but based on the number of chapters that you wrote, until we pay you $5,000. We will not take in other words, we are going to eat all of the cost of production up front. And this is how you know this is a company run by professors.
How nice.
Been down that road, done this stuff, and I realized a long time ago it doesn't have to be like that. We ought to treat each other the way we would like to be treated, and so that's kind of our goal, is to produce a good quality product for people, based not on some bizarre theory somebody thought up, but on something that's actively been long-term tested in the classroom. Anyway, Dave, do you have any other questions? I know it's like drinking out of a fire hose. I've got a booklet that I'm going to send to you that will recap what we've talked about here.
That's great.
Okay. As a matter of fact, if you want, I can send you a dozen of them. And then all I ask is that make people watch the screens before they look at the booklet.
Oh, sure.
Because the booklet doesn't have a lot of screens in it.
Right. Well, it seems like with the, it'd be better, of course, if they look it online rather than the book, right?
I would be happy to, like I said, if they don't want to sit down, a lot of times people don't like to watch these kind of videos because the production values, aren't as good as you'd like them to be.
Sure.
I will happily, as I told you before, take every one of them one by one through this program. If they would like, all they got to do is contact me. We'll set up a date, and I'll take an hour, and we'll just walk them through it.
Okay. Sounds good, yeah. Blossom, are you still there?
No, she left quite a while ago.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was hard because she can't see.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I'm good. And what I'll do, like I said, is I'm going to share this. We actually have a department Canvas shell. And so this is actually going to go in there, and then I'm going to send an email out today all about this so that they can go ahead and view this. But I will send an additional email for those folks who weren't able to make it so that they can set up a meeting with you and do that.
Okay. Well, I will get these in the mail to you tomorrow. Can you give me what's a good address to send those to, David?
Oh, probably you can send it to the college. 28237.
I'm sorry?
28237.
28237.
La Piedra. It's LA. And then capital Piedra.
Piedra, okay.
Road. That's Menifee, California. And then the zip is 92584. And that's going to be Mount San Jacinto College.
Right. Now, if for some reason you have people in your department who are who would prefer an in-person training, you have the fortunate benefit of literally being about 15 minutes away from my grandson, who is 5. So if for some reason you were to say, gosh, Mark, we would never adopt this unless you were to fly out here and show our faculty members, I might be able to work that out. And I think there'd be one of those business trips my wife might want to come along.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
So I'm letting you know, I'm wall to wall for most of the first half of April. But after that, in other words, if you had faculty members who said, yeah, you know what, I'd like to see this live. I'd like to be able to ask questions, get all my questions answered, and we'll all agree to sit down at this time. If you even had 5 of your faculty members that wanted to actually meet with me and walk through all of this and not feel the time constraints of this kind of environment, I would be happy to do that for you.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to get this out to you tomorrow before the post office closes.
Okay.
And, you should have it by early next week. If at any point in time you guys have any questions at all about about how this functions, about the benefits of it, you let me know. I've got student up on the speech ramp site. You can see student testimonials. My 2 favorite are the deaf student, and I will let you know, we did not coach that girl at the end, but it was just brilliant. I don't know if you saw the video, but at the very end, she talks about it and she gives the big thumbs up like that. I thought, we got to cap that video off.
I'll have to watch that.
It was fun.
I had a blind student speak just the other day.
Oh yeah, well, this deaf student obviously he's got an interpreter speaking in the background, but we are getting more and more faculty testimonials. I don't like that they're printed, so we're getting ready to probably sometime this summer we may send out a camera crew and just start filming faculty testimonials. The most common, you ever see those the word bubbles they put out where they show you how much you use a particular word?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The most common word that comes up from our students, if you were to do one of those on all of their journals, is confident. I am more confident. My confidence level is higher. Confidence everywhere. For our faculty members, most of them are just amazed that it never occurred to them. It's funny. It's the thing everybody knows, that practice is the key. It's the thing everybody complains about. Right. But it's funny when faculty members actually utilize this and see when the kid hits, right, this is how I explain it. There's 12 different parts of structure that we talk about. And what we found is that most students can pick up about 2 of those parts per speech with some degree of confidence. What that means is that by the 6th speech or so, most of our students kind of have most of their organizational structure down. And that's great, except that most students in most speech classes never get to speech number 6. In my classes, my students hit speech number 6 at the 1.5 week mark of speeches out of 8 weeks. Wow. So as a result, they do better. And so faculty members start getting this feedback, and they're blown away by it, even though I think intuitively they know they shouldn't be. It should be expected. It just the way historically it's been structured, it just can't be done that way. But
so now the time schedule with as far as like course content, like say the sections you want to go through with the student, would you do that? You would do that. How would that be set up versus when they start speeches? Okay,
let me give you a couple of scenarios. The first one is the most traditional methodology in which you would use 30-minute prep as the means by which you do speeches, period. In that case, what I recommend to most faculty members is you front load your semester with lecture and objective material, first 8 weeks, examine all the way along. At the end of the 8 weeks, now the student has all the content, the student has studied the content, the student has been examined on the content. And then that's how I go about breaking up my groups, right? We take the top 5 students, I put them in a group that way.
Okay.
Now, let me address an issue that sometimes comes up. I have faculty members at some schools. They are required by their course outline of record that their students must do an informative speech. There are two ways you can tackle that. Number one is you can go in and change the topics so the topics reflect an informative topic rather than a question that would be more of a persuasive topic. The second way you can do it is you can say, okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run 30-minute prep for 6 weeks instead of 8 weeks. And I'm going to reserve the last 2 weeks of class to listen to one too many informative speeches. And so I asked my faculty members, and can you imagine the difference? Instead of having them do their informative first and then doing 30-minute prep, do 30-minute prep for 6 weeks. Now they have 24 speeches under their belt. And now they get up and give you that informative. That's been planned out now maybe for 3 weeks.
Oh, sure.
But frankly, at that point, some of the students will prep it out in 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll still come up and crush it because they know what to do.
Sure.
I have a faculty member that they are required to do a group activity, right? You could conceivably condense this thing down. It won't be quite as effective, but you could condense this thing down as short as 4 weeks, at which point in time your students will still have given 16 speeches in 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks, they'll do 8 in class and 8 outside of class. And then that leaves you with 4 additional weeks to run any other kind of speeches that you might be required to run. Me personally, when I ran it, I ran this alone, and then I just dared anybody to tell me my students weren't public speakers. All of my students could speak in public on anything. All they had to do is have enough advance time to read up about it, but they knew how to structure a presentation, how to deliver it, how to stay in time, and how to cite sources, which, I mean, in one semester, that's quite an accomplishment for most students. So it can be done. But I just want to clarify, there's a lot of flexibility within the program, and I have a lot of people even using this in the hybrid course where they have a little comm theory, a little rhetoric, a little public speaking, a little interpersonal. As long as you've got a good solid 4 weeks, I would think would be the minimum. If you can set aside 4 weeks for presentations, 16 speeches, it won't allow your least communicative students to achieve what they could, but it will still be light years better than it would have been had you said to them, okay, in this class, you're going to do 1 impromptu, 1 persuasive, 1 group, and then 1 and then a set of journals on your interpersonal stuff. They'll get a lot more out of it.
Okay. No, I could definitely see how it works, and you're right. They don't put enough effort in, enough practice into it, and you usually get something half baked. So that's usually what happens. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and the peer pressure that mounts on this as well. A lot of times, students when they have a speech class, you always have those students who would have been great whether they were ever in your class or not. They grew up in a very verbal environment. They read a lot. They're smart. They're glib. Those students are going to get an A even if they didn't come to class, probably.
Sure.
The students who wouldn't get an A are intimidated by those students. But an amazing thing happens when you tell that student, here's your topic. You got 30 minutes. Go. Matter of fact, I will, just between you and me, I don't even sit in on the first day's group of speeches. I just let the students go. And then at the end of class, I walk in the last 5 minutes of class. I tell students, you're going to be done early. Don't leave. Just sit and think about how things went. I'm going to be back here at this time. I come back in and I just ask them, okay, how many of you gave a great speech today? None of their hands go up. I said, congratulations. You have just given the worst speech you are ever going to give in your life. It's just going to get better from here. I want you to pick 2 things. Out of all of those things you did bad, I want you to pick 2 things you're going to fix before your next presentation, and then I want you to go work on it. And then, because now even your really glib student, even that student is not going to speak 6 to 7 minutes. I mean, think about the smart kids even on your speech team who try extemp for the first time. It's kind of a great leveler. But that student is still going to improve faster than your other students.
Oh, sure.
But your other students will watch her do it.
Right.
Right? So that they're going to go, oh, that can be done. Well, gosh, what do you got to do? Well, you got to come prepared to class, and you got to practice. If I do that, I'm going to get to be better. So it works. So you're going to get a note with a letter with all these notebooks. But in the meantime, if you want to go in and look around here, if you've got a pen, let me give you a code that'll get you in.
Okay.
Okay. So when you go to 30minuteprep.com, And it's the number 30, minuteprep.com/faculty.
Okay.
And there will be a place for you to put in an entry code. The code that you put in, these will be capital letters, M as in Mark, T as in Tom, N as in Nancy, the number 5 and the number 8.
Got it.
And that will get you in. And then when you go in go in there, look and see if your college is on there. I don't know if it's on there yet or not. If it's not, you won't be able to get in until your college is in the drop-down list. But I'm going to call Mark Filer right now and make sure your college is on.
Right.
But
Right.
If it's not, give it a day or two, and then you'll see it.
Try again, yeah. Okay.
Okay? And again, David, if at any point in time you have any questions, please feel free to give me you don't have to wait for me to be online. Give me a call.
Will do.
All right?
Hey, thanks, Mark, for spending the time. I will definitely make sure unfortunately, I wish we had more people on this. I did send a message out and let everybody know about it, but there were some last minute changes. So
Understand.
definitely share this with them, and I think it's a great program.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, your enthusiasm will be contagious, and then they can give me a call, and I will happily walk them through it. Not a big deal at all.
Great.
You have a great day. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks a lot.
We'll be in touch.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.